Hello and welcome back to the Two Brits, One Yank podcast. My name is Sol Wanjau-Smith. I'm joined with...
Sambo, keep it in.
And...
Conor Kelly.
Now, as you can tell...
Sorry, this has taken a few takes, hence why we're laughing.
Boney decided, you know what, let me have a go at it. Sol can't just introduce every single time. We've been here for about 25 minutes. Him just laughing, getting awkward. We get about 30 seconds in and then
Can't
boom.
do it. Speaking, it's like, if anyone that vlogs and all, you'll realise it's so awkward trying to talk to the cameras.
Now I'm dreading having to do it.
So awkward.
Yeah.
I'll try and do it, but I need some practice.
He's going to intro his own episode.
Yeah.
Thanks, I know.
I won't mind it, to be honest. As you can see, we're back in our home, so to speak. Well, it's actually not your home. We're literally out of your home. But back in the Coach and Horses pub in Strood. They've thankfully let us come back again. We've set up a little bit different. As you can see, we've got the Kelly shirt hanging. Also got the nice Had You Right shirt hanging. And this is because it is Connor's episode today.
I've been waiting.
Well, a few people have said, like our co-owner last week, he doesn't talk enough. So in this episode, you're not going to be able to shut him up.
Yeah. This might be the first episode where I talk more than Sol.
Not possible. It's not possible. I'll still try and make it about
fit in
myself.
there, yeah. Try and fit in.
Before we get to Connor's portion of the episode, a few things have been going on this week. We've actually had a very, very, very big milestone or momentous thing that's happened to the podcast. I think it's definitely our proudest thing so far.
I think it's the best moment of my life so far.
No. You should have seen me screaming in the house yesterday.
Well, dude, I
Like
screamed in the group
25 years
chat.
of age, and I'm screaming the house down.
I never thought a different Yank other than Conor Kelly would make me so happy. But shout out to Matt Sheldon.
Facts.
He had me screaming through the house on the group chat he has taken a liking to the pod and he has followed us. So big shout out to you, Matt Sheldon. Thank you for all your support. I hope you've enjoyed it. And, it's a perfect episode for you as you're going to be talking about Conor Kelly.
I was like, that is like having the Lionel Messi of football YouTube follow you.
Well, I've been watching him since I was young.
Yeah.
Like the times when he was in Germany and all, on trial and stuff.
Yeah.
Like watching his days in the life and cooking scrambled eggs and having oranges. Can you remember that when he used to have that for breakfast?
Over easy.
What is it? The recipe: 4 eggs, orange, banana, the coffee on it.
Literally.
Over easy.
Yeah. And I know the 100 individual drills
Facts.
that got everyone through quarantine.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Throughout the whole of COVID, that was all I was doing in the garden. When you couldn't do anything else, it was, what's Matt Sheldon posted?
He's literally when you talk about football YouTube, it's Matt Sheldon, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for me personally,
Matt Sheldon.
because I wasn't in a pro setup when I was like 18, 19, even 20, that was someone I was looking to as a bit of inspiration because he didn't turn pro for such a long time
Yeah.
and so late. That was like, well, if he's doing it at this age, no offense, Matt, then I might have a little chance if I can copy some of the things he does. Then maybe by the time I get to his age, I might be in a similar position.
Well, I followed basically the exact same story. He did college. I did college. I did an extra year than he did. I didn't sign my first pro deal till a week after I turned 24.
Yeah.
You know, and it was so cool to see how he's become an established professional from. I don't think he had like a massive youth career, and now he's an established pro and into his early 30s. So cool to see.
And now he's following Two Brits, One Yank.
Yeah. Oh, but
And even the vlog the other day, we even said, I'm going to channel my inner Matt Sheldon and get a little vlog on.
Yeah, that's right.
Even you got the same shot with the coffee machine going.
I know, man. It's so weird how he's all of a sudden following us. Crazy.
Yeah.
Now, it must be said that we're trying to get these podcasts out every week. So it's now a Wednesday. It's going to be our normal shoot day. We obviously played Dover on the weekend, which was a bit of a reality check for a few of the boys that didn't play. This is actually the Two Brits, One Yank, 3 injured podcast at the moment, as all of us didn't play on the weekend and didn't play last night against Bath. So hopefully we'll be on the pitch soon. But
some sooner than others, I think, at this rate. But
the conditions...
Hey, we must say, he's sat today. He's not actually sitting up trying to elevate his leg.
now I'm feeling good, making good progress.
Good
so.
stuff.
Jeannie Kelly is going to be absolutely buzzing that his neck is not going to get killed the whole day.
And you know what my mom has said to me? She's like, you stitched me up on the pod. She's like, you're just soft. She's like, it's not me saying it. You're just overly cautious. So
Well, Jeannie.
maybe I have to give an apology to my mom,
There is a little device, a little contraption that Connor's been wearing on his foot to align his hips, and he's been claiming that it was you that said he had to do it.
You see, I thought, well, she did recommend it, to be
Can
fair.
I get it?
No. We'll
put a
edit,
little
edit in a
The
video.
state of
But
it, by the way. The state of it.
I was kind of hoping that would be forgotten about. It's about for the listeners. Well, I can show the YouTube watchers. So that's obviously a bit thick. It's probably 3 inches off the ground.
He's
So
pointing to his boot, obviously.
yeah. So
sorry, brother. Sorry.
I might have to start over with this one to be this story. But yeah, the boot is so much thicker than a regular shoe. So I bought this thing called like an even up, and it will like even up your hips and everything. It also, not a bad, I guess, byproduct of it. Now I'm like 6 foot tall when I'm
It
walking
looks
around.
ridiculous.
He wishes.
It looks absolutely ridiculous.
He's waddling like
Yeah.
18 stone Sam Bone, for goodness
Hey,
sake.
but I want to say, I don't know how someone's talking about footwear when this guy's wearing Crocs. Dirty
And he's just
Crocs.
been to the toilets to wash them as well.
Because
That
they said
is-
they were going to come for them. So I said, let me at least
state
wash
of
them.
State of them.
So we have
Yeah.
a very different array of trainers here. We
Shall
have the
I
horrible,
show off my fresh
the
trainers
horrible
as well?
off blacks that are on your foot with the even up, which is thankfully over there. We have my Crocs, which they're just comfortable. And then we have Sam Bone, who's had
And
a
then I'm
right
just
go.
looking fresh.
He's had a right go. He's worn his new trainers, which are absolutely minging.
and
Yeah,
his
that's not what you said the
and
other
his
day.
I did. I said,
That's
why
not what
you?
you said
I said,
the
why are
other
you buying
day.
them?
You
with
didn't
mint?
say that the other
Why you
day.
got a mint color?
Right, this is what happened. We went to his, downloading the files,
Oh, the first
And the-
thing he
and-
put them on the table.
and
A
I
brand
op-
new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
I open up the package,
mix it
and he
up.
goes, "Oh, they're not very nice." Do you know what I caught him doing? 5 minutes later, on the Instagram page, looking at all the trainers.
No, do you know what?
So he's a spoofer.
That's a lie. It's a lie. I was on TikTok.
They are fresh,
And
though,
because
man.
of this, the ads, it came up.
Dude,
We were
you're
talking about
such
them.
a liar.
And I said, "Oh, these are ones. Other
You
ones you
are
got."
such a liar.
I said, "Are these the other ones you got?" And you went,
Such
"Yeah,
a
yeah,
liar.
you like them." And I said, "They're absolutely."
You've shot
minging.
yourself in the foot there because
They're
you were on the Instagram
absolutely
page.
minging.
It wasn't even an ad.
Mum's life, I was not. Mum's life, I was not.
And he's
Speaking of
wearing his shrunken top under his jacket as well.
Yeah, which I'm not best pleased about.
Well, this is actually the North Face sofa, apparently, according to Connor.
Cold.
The Massimo Dutti shirt he has underneath is absolutely minging, by the way. He's like been
How
raving
could it be
about it.
minging? It's just a navy top.
He's paid about £60 for this Massimo Dutti shirt. He's like, boys, it shrunk. It shrunk.
Yeah.
Lifted his arms up. You see the belly hair. You see everything. And I was like, I'm glad he's got that minging jumper.
Can I just
jacket over
say,
the top.
and you'll learn to know this. This brother, and I'm gonna say brother, this brother wears the same thing all the time. You see on a night out and all, in it, Connor wears his dunks, wears his cargos, and the dodgy blue jumper.
Yeah.
So
Or
he
that little
wears. I
Broken
believe that-
Planet
believe-
jumper.
Or the
Yeah.
green jumper. He changed it between the blue
Broken
and the
Planet
green
jumper,
jumper.
the green, the blue.
There's-
What?
Okay, you rotate 3 when we go out. Fair.
Brother, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's broke. Don't worry.
Broken Planet. Thank you. I like that one.
That's good. Well
I like that
done.
one.
Carl, you
Yeah,
gonna
but you're
talk?
mixing what? You're mixing the old.
Don't worry about
the
me.
old
I'm looking
lilac,
fresh.
you got
Yeah,
a
I'm
little
looking
bit-
fresh. The state of you. Anyway, you want to talk about the book?
Yeah, we'll get the book out.
This book, by the way,
So,
serious.
shout out to Craig Fagan again. Craig, I did say we're going to boost your profile through this through this podcast, and I think it's
I
starting
did
to
not say
happen.
that, by the way.
No,
I
no.
did not say
Is
that.
this what he's known for? Not his football career, not his managerial
No.
career. The shout outs on the
Not the
2
fact that he had a lot of my friends and me crying when Dean Windass scored that volley in the playoff final, straight past Adriano Basso. But no, he's going to be known as Waterstones Craig from now on. Waterstones Fagan.
What's this?
He does not like brother. He does not like us calling him brother.
Oh, he can be book brother. So he's our book brother. Craig has tried to expand Sam and I's knowledge, and yeah,
It was from the chimp. What is it? The chimp paradox. I don't know if any of you know it, but we were chatting about it the other day, and he mentioned then about going to buy this book.
and then so me and Sam after training, we were like, you know what? Let's actually go buy it.
Yeah.
Went straight to Waterstones. Waterstones in Maidstone, by the way, lovely vibe upstairs. If you've
Yeah,
never been, absolutely
serious.
loved it. And then we both bought it in the afternoon, and then we finished it.
Yeah, so
10
so
o'clock.
that evening.
It's only about, I think it's 96 pages, but probably only about 60. And honestly, if you haven't read this, it's really, really easy read. There's like 4 characters going through a
Yeah.
maze. Honestly, you will see so many comparisons in your life within each of the 4 characters
It's
about different
such a
things.
good book.
Yeah.
It's such a good
I'm
book.
definitely going to have to get on it, you know.
No, it's so
sure.
good.
Yeah.
So good. And I just think reading in general, I'm 2 days into my reading stint, by the way, and my life has changed. My life has changed.
Yeah,
I was
I'm-
up this morning at 7 a.m., right, doing my little turmeric shot. It was also as well
Turmeric.
The Morning Miracle, the book's called, and it's just incredible. Like I think I'm about 4 or 5 chapters in, but it's so good. So I was up this morning, 7 a.m. What is it?
Turmeric.
It's turmeric.
Turmeric.
It's turmeric.
You know what? I'm saying turmeric pretty confidently,
turmeric.
but we might.
It's
we
turmeric.
might
I had
be on the
my, I
wrong
had
I
my
line.
wasn't too
turmeric
sure, to be
shot.
honest.
Yeah.
I did my Duolingo. I had my cold shower. I read 2 chapters on my book.
He's a
This guy's,
changed man.
this guy's
Changed.
turning into Wim Hof.
And I must say,
Changed.
last night there was pizza left on the table. The physio came in and said, "Oh,
for me.
lads, this is not being eaten."
Not for
We
me.
both looked at each other, and Boney went like this. And that 18 stone is getting down to 17
Facts.
very quickly.
Why am I agreeing to that? But can I just say, he went and took the pizza then.
Nah,
and the
listen.
I
behaved.
hadn't eaten for ages.
pie. Facts.
I've behaved myself very well, just only eating protein basically like since the surgery, and I was like, you know what, 1 slice, I'll treat myself.
Don't get Jeannie worried. Jeannie's worried that he's
Then
gonna-
a pie got offered, a leftover pie, and I said, go on. We'll really treat myself. We'll really treat myself. Back to salmon and tuna today.
There
off
you
the
go.
intense cut for an hour. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
And we're not messing as well. Like, what is it? Atomic Habits, The Morning Miracle, and
Black box thinking. And
Who
then
Moved My Cheese. They are so good just in terms of just trying to expand your knowledge and stuff. Strongly recommend it. Yeah, albeit I've read them for like 2 days now, but
he's a changed man.
Yeah.
He's a changed
I
man.
always knew you were
honestly-
switched on this
No,
whole
seriously,
time.
they're absolutely
I still
brilliant.
doubt he switched on. If it wasn't for the 3
Changed.
languages or the 2 languages you know, and
Cold.
now learning a third,
cold.
I would think he's bottom 3. in the
He's
team.
just a linguist, you know?
That's it.
He's just a linguist.
He knows everything apart from the language of love.
That's actually
That is a,
Sorry.
that's a crazy thing to say. I'm not gonna lie.
from the brother who's never been in love.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the right one.
Oh,
True,
spoonful.
hey,
There you go.
True love
And
waits.
hopefully,
Spoonful.
hopefully she's listening to this and she likes my Crocs and follow me at SolWS on Insta. anyway, we've been rambling
are
on a bit.
rambling.
Let's get
on.
on to the start of the show.
Yeah.
Right, let's cancel this episode then. Let's cancel it. I'm next week.
Today's episode, as you was aware in the last one, we're going to try and give an individual background story of each other. Mine was obviously last week. Again, the support on that was brilliant. I've had so many people within, for example, yesterday when we played against Bath, coming up to me and saying, "Oh, it was a brilliant listen and stuff." And
Andy
That's,
the steward. You have to
yeah,
give a shout out
Andy.
to
Shout
him.
out Andy, man.
Yeah.
Andy's a great guy. But the support and the love that everyone's shown for that has been amazing. And today's episode is about Conor.
Yeah.
Good old Conor Kelly.
So should we start with the same question? What
Yeah.
is your first footballing memory, Mr. Kelly?
I was born in Fulham, Fulham.
Fulham.
but-
Santiago Muniz.
Yeah,
Shout out.
gonna go watch my son in Fulham. But so I was born in Fulham, and there was a park near my house, and I used to just play football on a Saturday there, like boys and girls with a coach who was actually a Spanish guy, and I used to go in the morning, maybe around 10 or 12, go home, have some lunch, and then if I was lucky enough, we'd walk over to Stamford Bridge, and I'd go to the 3 p.m. kickoff, and those were some of the best memories of my life. That's kind of how I fell in love with football. I mean, it was such a good way to start. My local side was, the best team in England, potentially in the world at that point, and I was going to those matches. I was lucky enough to see Chelsea beat United in Mourinho's second season to lift the league. So I was see my club lift a Premier League title. So I was buzzing off that, and from there, football is all I cared about. So yeah, I would say that's probably my first memory.
And I must say that people might think, he's an American, whatever, Chelsea fan. This brother lives and breathes Chelsea. The other day, this is where I can get you actually with the oldest child syndrome. So the other day we were at Tops's house watching the final, the Carabao Cup final. Obviously Chelsea lose to Liverpool, and Chelsea shouldn't have lost, and they lost to a bunch of kids as well.
But Chelsea is a bunch of kids at the
No,
moment
of
as
course,
well.
I'm only joking. And we get to the trophy ceremony. What does this boy do? As Liverpool are going up the stairs, turns the TV off. He says, "Nope, enough of that."
That's the truth.
Turns it off, and he was absolutely fuming. He was giving it, "Sol, your team can't even make it to the to the Carabao Cup final. Sol, you support a championship club." All this sort of stuff. And I said, "Hey, this brother's spiteful. This brother loves this."
And you know who was getting me was Tops, because he's a Liverpool supporter, and we were watching in Tops' house. He wouldn't let me hear the end of it, and I'm trying. I'm gonna go to the worst of the worst insults. I have them lined in I have insults that we're never gonna talk again, just because he's saying, "Oh, you didn't win." But yeah, that was a tough day. But hey, we'll be back soon.
There we go. Come here. So you grew up then. What age was you when you went to America?
So I think I was 7. I moved in 2006, just after the World
Right.
Cup.
So you've grown up watching Chelsea and stuff. What was that like for you when your parents turned around to you and said, "Well, son, we're off to America now"? What was your initial reaction to that?
It's funny. So obviously, my parents are American. My dad came over for work. in, I think, 1993, like right after my parents got married. It was only supposed to be for 4 months. Ended up staying 14 years. So I knew my parents were American. I used to go home for the summers, but I thought it was fully English. I had an English accent. I remember the USA and England played in a friendly maybe like 2004, 2005, and they had a bunch of American friends over who were living in England. My dad's like, oh, like, you're going to go get your US top. And I was like, no way. I was like, I'm English.
Really?
So I remember...
And I've got to stop you there because this boy loves collecting football tops.
Yeah.
And he was saying to me, oh, I'm so excited for you to see my Gareth Bale Wales shirt. And I was saying, bro, you cannot wear a Wales shirt if you're English. And he was like, hey, I have no rivalry, nothing. And I'm obviously my Bristol boy as well, so the Welsh and the Bristolians.
I don't know any Welsh people.
That's miles off it.
Yeah.
You want to see the abuse they all gave us when England got knocked out and all from the Euros and stuff?
Yeah. No,
that shows
is
how
fair.
much has changed.
Yeah.
But as you've said that, I've kind of been like, I probably won't wear that shirt as much now. But yeah,
carry on about obviously. Was you upset when you found out that
I remember being on the steps like up to my bedroom and I was like crying, I don't want to move back to America.
Really?
But looking back, I'm very happy that I was able to get an experience over here. Like I think my first 7 years of my life actually shaped me so much. But I'm so happy I moved back as well. Like I love America. I love being American. And yeah, I love the way of life over there, but I love the football culture over here. So I've had like a really nice balance. Yeah.
And was that, you see, when you went back to America then, was that football culture the same as it was in England or?
Well, let's just say the U.S. has come a long way in football.
Yeah.
So I first moved, I was in, it's first grade, so I was 7. And I got there. I was in a school where maybe 50 people per grade. I don't think anyone knew who Chelsea even was. Like, FIFA the video game has actually really helped Americans' knowledge of football, I think, like just the casual, the ones that don't play. No one knew anything about football. So here I'm moving over with an English accent, football mad, and that's all I talk about. I didn't watch cartoons growing up. I'd watch probably 5 matches a weekend. So
Really?
I'm chatting about football, and they're like, who's this kid? I didn't have any friends probably.
I was going to say, was that hard then
years.
to fit in with school friends and stuff?
Yeah, I really had to
Completely
adapt.
different interests.
Did you go into any other sports? Obviously, America's big on American football, baseball, basketball.
Yeah.
Did you ever go into any other?
I wanted to play American football. My dad played growing up, and he got a bad hip injury, which I think still bothers him to this day. And he's like, no, it's way too violent of a game. But I used to play basketball. So there's this thing like, if you're in your town, you do these things called rec sports. So it's just like anyone in the town can join, and you just play. It's like, there'll maybe be like 10 teams for basketball. And it's really fun on like a Saturday morning. Like everyone will go to the local gym, and they have it for every sport. So I would do rec basketball, rec baseball, and then my first year there, I was playing at a decently high level over here. I was doing all like the Fulham football, like bank holiday camps. And then I played rec football in the States. People were kicking it with their toe.
Ooh.
Yeah, like it was
God.
the first year. I felt like messy. I was like weaving around kids. I was like, this is the best. And then it took me about a year to play for like a travel team, which is like more of like a club team. But yeah, I was really big into tennis, maybe until I was like 12. I actually had to make a decision between tennis and football because I was playing at a high level of tennis, but only training once or twice a week. Yeah. So it came to a point where, which one are you going to take seriously? And I do love the individual aspect of tennis. Like if you lose, it's on yourself. But no, it was always going to be football.
And then when did it sort of go from obviously playing the rec to then, okay, this is going to be competitive football in, say, an academy system? Because the systems are very, very different over there to here. Remember, you've already explained to me that before off camera that there are only, say, 20, 30 professional clubs in America, but then there are loads. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, there's 30, I think 29 MLS teams, about to be 30 when San Diego joined next year. There's 24 USL teams, but that changes every year. It's been as high as 36 in the past few years. It's like clubs will move between levels, and then there's a fair few like third division sides, but yeah, there's only 30 that have like an MLS academy.
But that's very, very different over here, who obviously there's a lot more professional clubs. But then there are more academy teams, aren't there, in America that are recognized as academy teams but aren't necessarily linked to a pro club?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of shakeup kind of with like MLS has been pouring a lot more money into academy systems. I think now they have to invest like up to $5 million per year in their academy. So that's really changed the system. But when I was there, it was, you can play for a club team, which is not an academy, which is you may be training twice a week and then you have games on the weekend. You can play other sports. You can play for your school. But when I was joining an academy, there were probably 80 in the country, only 4 in my state. New Jersey is 8 million people. There are only 4 academies in that whole state. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I have to give a shout out. First of all, I said I would to my first coach, Kevin Lane, an amazing guy. Still in contact with him all these years later, but I played for his team from about ages 8 to 11, and then I made a big jump to PDA, who at the time was a top 5 academy in the country, and it was such like a jump in like facilities, like probably have about 6 or 7 pitches, like 4G pitches, like unbelievable. And yeah, that was a huge step for me. It was interesting as well because I joined and I was doing well for the first 2 or 3 months, but I think I was talking too much. I wasn't really listening. I was only 11. And I came back for preseason the next year. And PDA is an hour from my house. It's 3 times a week. My dad's coming home from New York City where he's working, then taking me up to North Jersey. Like, it was so much stress on my family. And I didn't get rostered. They said, you're just going to be a practice player in preseason. So I was like, what am I doing? So the first 6 months of my second season, I didn't even play any matches. And that was the first time I ever had to deal with a coach, like, not liking me, not rating me, and still having to, like, show up every day.
And at what age was this?
This is 12. Yeah.
And you got... You said you weren't going to play at 12.
Yeah, and they didn't even give me any warning. I don't know if they warned my parents before, but I just remember showing up, and thankfully that coach left the team mid-season, and then the new coach was like, why aren't you playing? And I ended up playing a lot. But
what was that like for you then, being told that you wasn't going to play? Like, that rejection at such a young age. Like, how did you deal with it?
It's weird. I think it's just because I love the game so much, and I have such like inner self-belief. It didn't like dent me at all. And maybe it might have dented how I played a bit, but it didn't dent like my end goal of I want to be a pro football. I've been saying that since I was 5 years old. Mm-hmm. So it didn't really actually change anything for me. It was just like, this is crap. And I remember I'm still not the most athletic, quick, tall, whatever. I was small when I was young and way slower.
Hang on, were you Sam Bone small? Like at 14?
Underdeveloped Sam Bone, 6'3".
Please,
Still got pictures.
If you've
The
listened,
boys,
if you've listened to the last pod, and we spoke about how Sam Bone was not underdeveloped, please go on his Instagram and scroll all the way to the bottom, and you will find a video of him at 14, like bulldozing through players. You look about 6'5".
Well, yeah, but it's like I wasn't built like the way you worded it last week. Built, I presume built like as in like wham.
Yeah, you're not built for an adult, but for your age, you're massive.
No, I was just tall.
And then
I was so skinny. And I got pictures. I was so skinny.
And then we went to go watch what was the game? The Gillingham game, the Kent Senior Cup final.
When he's 16.
16,
and I said that was when I had my first year as a scholar, and I was in the gym.
He's the biggest player on the pitch at 16.
God.
And he's saying, yeah, I was underdeveloped as a kid.
He's built like a young
bigger than
Wayne
Gavin
Rooney.
Hoy.
Yeah.
I was bigger than Gavin Hoy. But no, carry on, Connor. So obviously this new manager comes in then after the old one telling you that you're not going to play. What was that like then under him?
Yeah, that was great. It was a good few months, but he was more in like kind of a caretaker role to get us to the end of the season. And then what they did next year was they had a new coach come in, and I hadn't heard if I was on the team or not. So I went to all the tryouts. You usually don't even have to try out, but I was going to tryouts, and I remember on the phone, and the coach didn't even know. So I was like, okay, like I'm going to leave here and play for it wasn't as big an academy at the time. It was called NJSA. It's now been renamed to Cedar Stars Monmouth.
Who?
Yeah. So we'll get to it
That's
later.
big time. That's very big time. All
No,
right.
give over, like.
No, it's fair though.
All
It's
right,
fair.
Sheldon playing the champ when you signed for them. Oh
I've
my
never
God.
once bragged about playing. In fact, if anything, last week I was open and said that I was
But-
too big time.
It's different there. So there's no first team at Cedar Stars. So like that's why no one's heard of it.
That's what I was saying though. Like it's such a different system that pro academies aren't necessarily linked to an actual team over there. The academy system's so different over there, where it actually costs. So you have to be eligible to play in your talent, then you also have to pay for it. No.
But sorry, wait there. But like, does that mean that then there's mixed talent? Because say for someone who hasn't got maybe the ability to you, well, if their parents then go, right, well, we're going to pay such and such for our child to play, does that make a difference, or is it based off ability?
Well, yeah, it's a shame. It definitely makes it less accessible. They're definitely working on it as well. So now, like, MLS academies are free. My academy now is free, and it was free when I was about 16, but from 12 to 16, I think it was $2,000 per year, and then you have to pay expenses, and they don't really help with transportation, so gas money and everything. So it's definitely a lot. But yeah, I do think that's something the U.S. really has to work on with, like, inner city people. You know, here we have cages where people play football. In the U.S., it's only basketball courts. There's not really many places in, like, inner cities like Baltimore, Brooklyn, like in New York, where you can play five-a-side.
But sorry.
So it kind of draws people. The football in the U.S. is definitely like a privileged sport.
I was going to say, so my question is, like, for example, if you're walking to your local park in England, you're guaranteed to see children kicking a football on the grass and stuff like that. Is it completely different in the States where, like you said there, about it being loads of basketball courts and stuff? Well, you walk down the street in America and it's just basketball. Basketball, like, is that everywhere or?
So, like, I would say, like, a lot of people who have driveways will have a hoop in their driveway or on their street.
I've seen it. Yeah,
where people will go and play. But most high schools have, like, a 3G. So my local, like, high school, I would just walk to it and train there. So there are a lot of turf pitches. We call 3G turf. There are a lot of 3G pitches throughout the States, but I'm talking more like in cities. It's hard to have the land there. Yeah. So you have, I don't know, I think 5 million people live in New York City. It's really hard to play football there. Really? Like, very hard.
Could you imagine if they had all the 3Gs and 4Gs open in England?
Poor.
Like, it just wouldn't work.
I remember jumping over the fence to go and play at my local 3G. Like, jumping over it.
And then the police get called.
Yeah, sometimes you get lucky and they'd leave the gate open. You're like, oh my God, it's amazing. You'd be like calling your friends, like, come down.
Yeah, it's crazy. Never. What I do, like, when I come home is I'll just walk to the pitch, even if they're in school sometimes, like, because the pitch will be open. I'll just train while kids are in school. Like, it's a very different atmosphere for sure.
I must say, going back to Matt Sheldon as well.
He's always at the 3G.
And I was so jealous. So jealous. I remember there's a little place where I live in Cleve, and it had a full-size goal. And it's a terrible pitch, but it had a full-size goal. So I used to just try and fix the net a little bit and just try and do some finishing into there.
Wow. I used to use, like, jumpers and all to, like, dribble in and out of the jumpers and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, the water bottles as well.
Yeah, literally.
Shout out to the water. You can't find the cones. Brother or sister have them.
There you go.
Take out some waters.
So come here. At what age then how long was you at that club for, that academy?
So I was there from 12 to 18. It was great for my confidence. Yeah, we weren't as good as PDA was. But yeah, I kind of got to be like one of the main players and really got my confidence from 12 to 14. I actually remember reading Ibrahimovic's book, I Am Zlatan, and that actually really changed my life. Being like,
reading again?
Yeah, I was just like, wow, the obstacles he had to go through, and he's made it far greater than I ever will. So,
not necessarily. You never know, brother.
Yeah, well, clock's ticking, but we'll see. We'll see. It have to be a fairy tale story at this point, but we'll see. But yeah, that was really good for me. And then at about 14, I had like a great year. I was ranked in like the top 150 players in the country.
Wow.
I think, again, we weren't good. I was looking at the other day. My team scored 30 goals in a season in 26 matches, and I had like 18 of them. From center midfield. Like, we were not a good
What age
team.
was this squad, sorry?
A lot were Pens, by the way. I was a Pen merchant.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What age was that?
I think it was 14.
14.
And how it works in the States, once you hit 14, there's no U15 academy. It goes U16 and U18.
Oh, okay.
So the U15s go to what's called a pre-academy, where you can play for your high school, and it's less days per week. You don't really play as much in the fall. It's more in the spring. And I was like, nah, I'm hitting my stride. I want to kick on. The coach of the U16s didn't like me at all. And I kind of held a gun, not literally, but I held it.
Be careful what you say. Careful what you say.
I put a gun to his head and was like, listen, like, I have offers from other academies. I'll leave the club if you don't take me. And he actually never said, okay, I'll take you. He just sent an email saying, like, you'll be on the U16s.
Right.
That was not the best way to go about it with this guy, because I barely played. I think there's a rule that you have to start every player on the team has to start 25% of the matches.
Right.
Started 27%. Like,
Was this after you'd put a gun to?
yeah.
Ah, right.
So it was the U16. I remember going, like, I was doing quite well in training, and I remember
Yeah.
going to him, like, I didn't call him Gaffer. You don't say Gaffer in the States, but I was like, Gaffer, coach, coach, I want to play more. Like, what can I work on? Told me I was the 21st out of 22, I think it was, on the team.
So he essentially held a grudge
He
towards...
called me the worst player on the
Yeah.
team, and
Right.
yeah, that again, I think we had maybe like 7 or 8 boys play Division 1 from that team.
Right.
Like, it wasn't the best standard.
Yeah.
So I remember taking that to heart a bit, and then we went on a trip to Spain, and that was fun. That kind of made me forget everything, but that was a really, really hard year for me, for sure. It was my second time kind of dealing with a bad coach, which
I can imagine.
that's how it goes.
So
I
you
guess.
say he used his, pride and stubbornness then, I suppose, unless you were just really bad.
Yeah. I mean, I was
He
bad
was
myself.
underdeveloped.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely was. That definitely helped me actually develop a lot in terms of dealing with, adversity, but also physicality. Like, I was so tiny.
So that was from
That was at,
under 16s then?
yeah. So I was like
was at 15.
14, 15
Yeah.
at
14,
the time.
15. And you stayed there and you said until under 18s?
Yeah.
So what changed?
So the next season, all the guys that were pre-academy from my age group, the 99s, I'm in 1999. The 98s have moved on to U18s now.
Okay.
And now the 99s have come up.
Yeah.
So now I'm with the boys that I played
Should
U14
be,
with.
Yes, yeah.
And that was a great year for me. I think I kind of hit my stride again. I was banging in goals. I think I went through a stage where I scored in like 8 consecutive games, and I was like, okay, like now I'm feeling like a good player. I was going to the youth national team training. So how it works is, because the US is so big, it's hard to see, okay, we're going to select these 18 players to play for the U16 national team. So they would divide the country into 4. So they would hold a training maybe in like Philadelphia, and any good player or top player from like 3 hours would drive in, and they would have him like once a month. So that's why I played with like Timothy Weah when he was on the Red Bulls, Brennan Aronson, who's now at Union Berlin on loan from Leeds. Like, that's when you really play with like the best players. And so many boys that played in the MLS would go to those.
And what was the reaction of the coach that said you were the 21st out of 22 players
He
when
actually-
you started going to these sort of camps?
He actually got let go the next year because he was quite harsh to boys. He was a fantastic trainer, but he was quite harsh, and the States is a lot less intense. So I think maybe people can handle that, and they let him go. Which was, yeah.
So you're doing these training camps. You obviously hear about the scholarships and all in England. I can imagine you're watching the Premier League and stuff, and you obviously hear of the academies. Was that ever in your mind then at like the end of maybe, when you're doing really well, when you're going to these camps, like was there ever like a part of you where said, I want to go to an academy, I want to go to England?
Were you thinking about pro football? Or was
Yeah.
it always just towards college?
So around that age, I was like, I would like to go try. Like, I remember boys, from MLS academies going and playing for teams in Europe. But I kind of sat down with my parents at, I guess, 16, and we kind of figured out my plan for football was, I'm going to go play at university, and then I'll hopefully leave early if I have a really good career, and I'll go play in the MLS, and then I'll go to Europe. That was, my master plan. And safe to say it didn't turn out like that at all.
It never does, does it?
So is that the typical pathway then for an American?
So
Is
now
that they do the college, uni, and they go through the MLS route, and then they gamble and sort of doing well in the MLS, and then getting a move to Europe? Is that how it works, or
yeah, it's different.
would there be some boys that, well, you just mentioned it there, but like, what's the percentage of boys that would then go over to Europe straight away?
I'm not really sure like how many will do it because again, it's hard with work permits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But how it works now is I feel like all the best players in the country won't go to college anymore.
Just go to Europe.
College football is not getting the top recruits. I remember my last year of uni, the incoming class, so they're 4 or 5 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 of the top 30 players in the country played university football. Versus go back 10, 15 years, everyone, like Clint Dempsey went to uni.
Yeah.
I think even 8 players of the 26 that went to the World Cup went to uni. I can imagine in 15 years, it'll be like 2 or 3. Like it's definitely, they're getting 18. There's more money now, so they're getting 18-year-olds to skip out on college. But for me, my parents were always education first. If injuries happen or something, it's always good to have someone to fall back on.
course.
For sure.
100%.
Yeah. And again, it's I don't want to like waffle on here, but it actually makes the academy system quite weird because at 16, you're pushing to get into Charlton's first team. And now I guess
I'm not too sure about that, but
that's your goal.
of course.
Mine was to play college football, and I committed at 16. So from 16 to 18, I technically could have just sacked off, just not really tried, trained well, and I would have known where I was going to school. If I was having an unbelievable 2 years, I'm still not going to sign professionally right away. That wasn't in my plan.
Right.
So it kind of like
You got to be self-motivated then, really.
you have to, you really have to push yourself. It is a weird system for sure.
Whereas I know lads that have been at academies, they've signed their scholars in a first year, second year pro at 15.
Yeah.
And if they were just to sack it off until they get to that age, till they get to the professional age,
That's what
they
I mean.
never would have prospered.
You've
really.
got to have a strong mindset, ain't you?
No, of course.
Because
So how can you explain the recruitment process to how you then went into college?
Yeah, so how it works for academy, there'll be these massive showcases. So they'll have them in the winter and at the end of the season. And you'll play a team, and there'll be 100 coaches on the touchline from different universities. You'll send out emails to schools you want to go to. Hey, like, my name's Conor Kelly. I'll be playing at this showcase. If you're there, like, please come watch. And if you're lucky, they'll come watch. I also did camps at universities. So they'll hold identification camps, which are often money makers. They'll have 150 kids come in, paying between $200 and $400 for 3 days. It's crazy.
it's madness, isn't it?
But I did a few camps my freshman year, my sophomore year. So freshman year is your first year of high school for the English listeners, and I'm 14 or 15 then. And then my sophomore year is my second year, and I'm 15, 16. So I was doing those then, and I went to Georgetown, Notre Dame, and Duke, and they would watch me play at the showcases, and I kind of was down to those three. And it was a really cool process, like going to the camps. You just play football for 3 days straight, basically, and then at the end you'd have interest if you did well. So that's kind of how my recruiting journey looked like.
I suppose it's personal preference, isn't it? Because I wouldn't like to know if someone was coming to watch me. I don't know about you, but I think I'd put myself under a lot of pressure if I knew that I'm emailing these people and they're coming to watch me. I think I'd be under some serious pressure to perform.
And it's very different in that aspect where you have actively gone out and said, look, I would like to go to your university.
Yeah.
Imagine going to, I don't know,
That's
if
what I
went
mean.
to a Charlton at 16 and said, I'm playing here, come and watch me.
Yeah.
It's a very, very different system, isn't it?
I had to make my
100%.
own highlight tape. I remember I paid a kid at my school $30 to make a highlight tape just
Really?
from one match, and I sent it around. And they actually, you would do a seminar when you go to these schools, and it was my mom and my dad's idea to just have it be one game because anyone can look good over a season. So it was like just have your best game, do a 3-minute clip from that, and they actually put my video on the board and said, like, this is the type of video we like to see. 3 minutes, one game, so we can see everything about you as a player. And I called my parents straight away after that. I was like, you'll never guess what happened. But,
Right.
Yeah,
It's true, though. Like,
Yeah,
of course.
I can imagine in my clips. In fact, I actually had a video when I left Charlton. It's on YouTube. And I look unbelievable in the video because it's just all my worldy passes from, like, a number of games.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's how, again, there are games that you play awful, but you do 3 or 4, like, good things.
Yeah,
And you're like,
exactly.
slap
You
that
Put
in the
them all
highlights
into the,
there.
exactly. It's just so unrealistic, isn't it?
Yeah.
So unrealistic.
But yeah, it was interesting. So the camp that kind of changed it all was the last one I went to. I went to Georgetown and Notre Dame first, which are quite big universities in the States. And I actually really only went to Duke because the Georgetown coaches were coming to watch at the Duke camp. Like, they would coach. You get all these different universities would go to each other's camps. Yeah. And they had their 25 players they were looking at, and they took them down to, like, the grass pitch where the college players play. And I was on, like, with the reserves, basically, like the 100 kids that, like, they weren't really looking at. And I got quite lucky. I went on a run. It was kind of like, I was so annoyed. We got bed bugs at the hotel we stayed at. It was a horrendous experience. Yeah. And I went on, like, a run just because I was like, okay, no one's watching. And I dribbled, like, 4 or 5 players, something I would not really do too often. And they put me in.
You get to see it.
Yeah, exactly. They put me in the All-Star game, but I was the only player that didn't start. So they basically were just like, oh, okay, like, we'll see what he's saying. And I scored 2 goals in, like, 20 minutes. And from there, it was like they were so aggressive with me. And that's at a stage they can't reach out to you on the phone until your third year of high school. And I'm in my second year.
Right.
So they would call my coach and say, we want to speak to Connor. My coach would call me, and then I would call them. And that's how we kind of did the whole recruiting process.
Your
And
coach is like an agent.
my coach
That's
is moving
such a
like an
weird
agent.
process.
The middleman, yeah.
If
Yeah.
they can't contact you straight away, how is it that when the coach tells you, then you can have
That
contact?
would be technically me calling them.
Yeah.
Right.
So I could text them, hey, I'll call you at this time, and they wouldn't respond because they weren't
okay.
allowed.
Ah, right.
It's almost
okay.
like tapping them up early.
Yeah.
Right.
To like guarantee that they come to their university instead.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so I got quite lucky. We had the end of season showcase in Texas when I was 16, and I played 2 matches and I scored 4 goals in those. I had like the best games of my life. And from there, Duke was like, yeah, we'll give you a full scholarship, which is 10% of their scholarship budget.
Wow.
And I was like, happy days. You know, it's a really expensive university. And my parents were having a dinner party, and I remember calling them. They didn't respond for like 3 hours. And I'm like, I thought they'd be like on the first plane over, like, let's go out to dinner or something, celebrating. But yeah, it was fantastic. And kind of from there, I knew where I was going for the next 2 years.
Was Duke was it Duke or Duke?
We say it very differently.
Yeah,
Because like,
I'd say Duke. Was Duke your first choice?
So I took a visit there, and I remember one of the players asked me, like, do you want to be a professional? And I was like, yeah. And
nice.
he was like, that he wasn't really happy in the environment, and kind of was like, I don't know if this is the best place for you. And I remember just like looking, being like, doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, you know, I'm
scare you
16,
away.
I'm flying. Yeah, like coming to it, like it was not the best place for me. Actually, I should have gone to Georgetown. I would have won the whole national championship, or I would have won the ACC if I went to Notre Dame. Instead, I was unfortunately empty-handed with I mean, we did win a regular season title, but
Yeah.
I was empty-handed in the postseason. So yeah, it wasn't the best decision for me in the end, but I love my experience there. Like, great group of guys, and I met some great people, and yeah, I'm still in really close contact with to this day.
And then what happened after Duke then?
Yeah.
So how long did you do at Duke?
So I did my 4 years at Duke, and I never really was
4
like
years.
a main player on the team.
Right.
I think I started 12 matches in 4 years. And
Really?
Yeah.
but the
12
season,
matches in 4
Yeah.
years.
But
So
the
you only play
season's
17
is very
matches a year.
different.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Meg's the same. My cousin Meg.
very
Yeah,
different.
it's the same thing. So Duke was such a good thing for me to go to. Duke is in the ACC, which for football, I would equate it to the Prem.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are 24 conferences throughout Division One. So the ACC is a conference. And then the final tournament every year has 48 teams. So if you win your conference, you're automatically in. But most conferences will only get 1 team in.
Right.
But like the ACC, there's 12 teams. I think my last year there, 8 of them qualified.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the Big Ten and the Pac-12, which isn't a thing right now, that is like the best standard of football. So that was like a massive deal for me. It was so competitive, but it wasn't what I hoped. You know, I think I was just a bit intense for the coach's style. They didn't really like how I was demanding my teammates, saying that like my body language wasn't good when people made mistakes. Always put my hands in the air.
Yeah.
Stuff. And I mean, I think you can take it out. I don't say anything over here.
Yeah.
No, well, I
I'm
think
quite
I just
soft
think it's
over
very.
You
here.
said this before.
We've actually said it. Yeah, it's a very different culture.
very different.
Yeah.
I
culture.
remember
Like,
you telling me before that you're quite loud, and I was like,
in small
Well, yes, I
sideds
see
over
it.
here, if someone makes a mistake, people will draw them out
Yeah,
straight
like-
away. You will scream at them saying like,
Don't
well,
bring
you've
up-
let
don't
us all
bring up
down.
the-
We're best mates. You've
Yeah.
battered me, and that's how
It has
I
to be
like
like that, though.
That's
Of
how
course.
that's how it should be. And
Of course.
I think that actually was shaped from my time being in England and following the Prem and seeing how they chat to
course.
each other. But yeah, it just didn't work for them. And
accountability, yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew it was just a kind of difference in styles. When my senior year, I was starting because of injuries, and I was doing quite well. And the coaches pulled me and said, we're going to have you on the bench. It's not performance related. It's just stylistically. And I'm like, well, can you elaborate? And they said I didn't cover enough ground. And I was like, look at the GPS. I cover first or second every training. And they go, you just don't do it quick enough. And I was like, okay. I was like, at that point, you know, there's not much I can do.
So I'm going
The
away.
issue
I'm
is-
going away here. What's your record this season?
So in the 90 minutes I've had, I've broken 13K in every match.
13K.
For American viewers is I think 8.5 miles, and then the most I did was 13.8.
Yeah.
But I think my hamstrings were about to tear off the bone after
And
that.
what's the
Madness.
quickest speed that you've covered?
I don't know kilometers per hour, and I probably know it in miles per hour, but I'm not going to say it because it's not very
But
fast.
I can tell you actually.
I'm a one-trick pony, one speed.
I can tell you that. Steve and Ben Fuller told me that with my broken foot against Stevenage, I covered quicker than your top speed. They said to bring it on the pod.
Oh,
Top
they
speed.
told you to bring it on the pod.
They said it'd
That
be a
one
funny
hurts.
story for the pod.
Yeah, if we're in FIFA,
wow.
I think my stamina would be about 91 and my acceleration would be about 45.
So that Jorginho acceleration,
Yeah.
man.
It's not too far off. He might be a bit quick for me.
That's right.
I think one thing that we've glossed over a little is that how important it is in America to go to a university or a college like Duke. You've said to me before that whenever we talk about an American person, you ask, what college do they go to? And you were kind of showing that in England, when you go to a massive academy like, I don't know, Man United or Man City, it's kind of a similar thing to in America of, what college do you go to?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. The alumni connections at schools are so strong. Like a lot of the time, you'll get a job through an alumni connection or the name of your school. That's really how it's kind of done post college. And I was really lucky. All the schools that I mentioned, they were my final three for a reason. They're all quite good academic schools and schools I wouldn't have dreamt of getting into without football. So Duke is actually a top 10 school in the country. I think it has like a 4 or 5% acceptance rate. So again, football is everything to me. And part of the reason I couldn't leave was I was having my education paid for. I'm at a top 10 school in the country. You're not really going to find anything better than that. And you kind of just have to firm, I'm not really happy playing football. Because if it was a normal school, I would have left after every season, first, second, third. Like I wasn't really happy playing football. I was so happy off the pitch, so happy with the team, but what I was there to do, it wasn't coming to fruition. So yeah, it really, it's almost like a trap. It's such a good school. You can't really leave it.
But I think that's actually important to say to, if there's any young aspiring footballers out there, that like Connor, I've been to university and I went to university before turning pro, and you always have to have that plan B, plan C. My dad always says all the way down to Z, always. 100%. And there is more to life after than just football that you almost have to prepare for. Our careers, we're only going to be able to play at the top level maybe till we're 32. And then after that, if we're lucky, we can play till we're 35. And with the way our bodies are, maybe not.
I'm glad you said that, because one of my biggest regrets is not being focused in school. Is not working hard. I was a class clown. Like, you remember New Star Soccer, the app?
Yeah, great app, by the way.
I used to go into maths class playing that with my friends and stuff. And obviously you get older and you mature and stuff. But yeah, I realised then that was one of my biggest regrets. So it's so important, just touching on that, it's so important to have a, like you said, plan all the way to plan Z, because it is a short career and you need something to fall back on.
And that is very honourable that you decided, you know what, even though my football is not at the level or I'm not playing as much as I would like to, that this is an opportunity that you can't turn down to at least complete your 4 years at Duke.
Yeah.
And then you can try and look somewhere else, which is where you did end up going to maybe play a bit more and have a better footballing career in college.
Yeah.
It's funny. I will give the Duke coaches credit for academics. They really pushed the team to focus. The team average was quite good. Because before looking at colleges, I was like, oh, football will get me into college. But I remember when I first visited at 16, they sat me down. I think I had like a 75 out of 100 in science. And they're like, that's not good enough. Like, you need to get that up. And from there, I kind of really switched on in school. And at Duke, actually, there was such a nice culture. You wouldn't expect it, but all the footballers were like, you have to do well in school. If you were in a class with someone, they're sacking off, you'd be like, what's this guy doing?
Right.
So
that is such a culturally, such a different culture to us. Whereas like, there's a
You
lot
w-
of lads at say 12, 13, 14 that are at the big academies that will be on day release three days a week. If they're not doing well in school come 16, doesn't matter. They're going to be a pro. They're going to be a pro.
Looking
It's
back
so,
at it,
so
I feel sorry for the kids that actually tried in school, in my classes anyway, because there was me and my group of friends, and we were just a bloody nightmare. Like, I finished school, don't know why I've decided to out myself out here. I finished school with 3 GCSEs.
Oh.
2 was it even 3? Could have been 2. 1 was for PE, and 1 was for IT, because I can say it now, but I copied my friend.
And then GCSE
I
board
remember
will not be
that
back.
exam
Going back to
board.
science, I remember putting down my name on the exam paper, and you know how you had like the multiple choice questions, you can just tick a box that you thought was right. Just did them, and that was it. And I don't mind outing myself out now because it's a regret of mine, and I don't want like viewers to look at this that are naughty in school or something. Whatever you're doing, do it at 100%. At 100%, all right?
Yeah. I actually
because
think
you
it
don't want
helped
any
for football.
regrets, and that is a big regret of mine. And now let's just hope I kick on to have a really good career.
Hopefully his podcast takes
Yeah,
off. So
I was gonna say.
that's why we're
please
letting-
like and share because we need this podcast to take off.
He was
Otherwise,
trying to-
I'm lost after football.
He was trying to get involved with the editing, saying, I've got a GCSE in IT. Now he's definitely not touching that computer. There's no chance.
Facts.
Yeah, but I think it goes back actually kind of to the books. It's if you have high expectations for yourself in life, it's going to translate
Exactly.
to everything you do.
100%.
But don't get me wrong, I wasn't perfect by any means in school. I was just like you until
And
about
definitely
16.
not. I was definitely not perfect.
Yeah.
Well, even we'll speak about it next week, but I had to be held back a year. When I was year 13, I had to take year 14. So everyone else was
really?
18 at school when I was 19. So like, hey, we're definitely not perfect, and we're not.
There
We're just
you
trying to
go.
sprout our knowledge and try and give
This is
people.
about learning from
Exactly.
our mistakes and stuff. 100%. So going back to you, Connor. So at the end of your time at Duke, where do you go on then from there?
So I got quite lucky actually with COVID because how it works is you have 4 years of eligibility. And if you miss a year through injury, they'll give you an extra one, or you don't play, they'll give you an extra one. I played every year.
Right.
And obviously not as much as I would have hoped. But so I wouldn't in a normal circumstance had an extra year, but so many teams had their seasons canceled during COVID. We were lucky enough that we played 20 matches during COVID, just doing testing every single day, like 7 days a week from August until May. But yeah, I was given the chance to leave. I actually said to the coaches mid-season, you can put yourself in the transfer market. It's called the transfer portal.
Cool.
And I did that. All these schools would reach out to you. And then again, I kind of took it upon myself. I had some really good ones, but I was like, if there's a school I want to go to, I'm just going to email them first. So I emailed all these schools first, and they would call the coach, and the Duke coaches, to their credit, said like wonderful things about me, like the hardest
Good.
working guy in training. I'm like, you can play me a bit more if that's what you think, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I ended up going to another team in the ACC who was about half an hour drive from Duke. So Duke's in North Carolina. I went to NC State, and that was such a good decision for me football-wise. I really chose them because it was close. I was graduating Duke early, so all my friends were going to do another 6 months there. I was like, it'll be nice to be around them, 30 minutes down the road. And NC State also graduated 14 players. So I'm like, there are 3 spots in the midfield wide open. If I go and perform, I'll get it. I was like, I can't go to a place where there's one spot
Competition, yeah.
and a coach is like, well, he's been here longer, or this kid's a first year, we're going to develop him this year. I was like, I need to play. So I got there, I did a spring season there, and then went home for the summer, and then the fall starts. And the fall was fantastic for me. I scored 1 goal in 52 matches at Duke. And again, it's weird with the timing. If you have a 30-minute match, like you play 30 minutes off the bench, it's unlimited subbing in the second half. So you might go in for 10 minutes, come out, go
So
in.
strange.
So I would play often 30 minutes a match, but no longer than 10, 15 minutes. You can't really get in the game in 3 10-minute spurts. So yeah, my first match we played, it was in front of like 2,500 people. Got 90 minutes for the first time in college.
Awesome.
And I scored the winner on my debut from like 30 yards. And my brother was there to watch. And I don't get emotional. I actually welled up during the match because I always backed myself the whole time. If I'm going to be a pro, even at Duke, I'm 21. I'm not playing on not even a professional team. And the whole time I was like, I'm going to be a pro. But I did feel crazy sometimes.
That
Obviously
resilience, man.
And that self-doubt
resilience.
sometimes just
Yeah.
slightly start to creep in.
Gotta be
You're
resilient
thinking,
with it.
After
Yeah.
4 years, you're thinking, oh, is this actually going to be maybe the right path for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I had like a small ankle injury to my other ankle, and I missed some trainings at the end of the year. I didn't miss a game in uni in all 5 years through injury, but I had a small injury, and I remember rehabbing and just thinking like, what am I doing? Like I'm out playing. I'm in my 4th year of uni and I'm barely playing. Like why am I still doing this? And it's just because I love the game so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was great. So I scored in my first game. That was fantastic. The next match, I scored a hat trick from central midfield, and I was over the moon. I got like college team of the week. I got player of the week for the ACC, and then I scored the next game. So I was the top scorer.
One was a free kick as well, no?
No, that was later on in the season.
And I've got a story about this free kick as well. We'll get to it. We'll get to it when you get to it.
So, yeah, so I played, I had 5 goals in my first 3 games. I was buzzing. Actually, Duncan McGuire, we were equal at 5 goals in 3 games. He just had a move fall through to Blackburn. He was on the plane.
Wow.
It fell through. He landed. They agreed, and then Blackburn messed up the paperwork. So now he's had to go back to the MLS, and he's going to move back over in the summer. But, yeah, that was such an unbelievable time for me. The coaches were so good to me at NC State, and I really did enjoy my time. We didn't have the best season, but for me personally, it was fantastic. Yeah.
How long was that? So that was the first season. How long did you stay at NC State for?
So I joined NC State in January of 2022. I finished
Right.
Duke in December of 2021. And then I finished my season there in November of 2022. So the main season is
Yes.
August to November.
Yes.
And yeah, it was great. I was team of the season for the ACC. I got player of the year.
That's awesome.
I do have to give a massive shout out to my parents because, and just my family in general. I think a lot of people with how my career went in the first 4 years were just said, you know what, you went to a good school, just get a job, just go make money, go live in New York City, go live in Boston, some city in the US, and just make money. Like, football's not for you at the moment. It wasn't kind to you the last few years. And my parents were like, it's your life, it's your dream. This is what you're meant to do, go do it. I think if I said I don't want to play, they would have been like, we're not having that.
So
But I
true
also
to
want
what
to
you
give a shout
believe
out to you and your mentality, because even coming over here and playing for Maidstone, it's not the most glamorous thing. Coming from where you've come from and the schools.
Oh, yeah.
Speak
we have
for
to
yourself.
talk about
We'll talk about it in a
facilities.
sec.
Speak for
No,
yourself.
but it's not the
brother.
most glamorous compared to where he's been. And you've just almost got tunnel vision to, I'm going to become a professional footballer,
Yeah.
no matter what. So many children and so many kids would give up after what you've been through and how you've been almost oppressed by some of your managers. And that's why it's so important that if you have that self-belief and you
Yeah.
know that you are
Yeah,
almost meant for
100%.
this, that you keep on going.
I think a good example is your Duke.
Exactly.
Duke's not. It's not an academy.
No, Duke's a
college.
college.
It's a
Duke's
college, but like
Has this brother been listening or?
no,
Where you been the last
We're an hour
20
in.
minutes?
no, I don't mean it like that. But I'm just saying, sometimes you can get caught up if you're not playing at that level, and I don't know the
No,
exact
100%.
level. You can sometimes be caught up in your own thinking, or actually, is this for me? Especially at that age as well, is this for me? But you've stayed, like I said, resilient.
And almost
Stay
true to
true
yourself.
to what you
Yeah.
believe in, and do you know what I mean? Your mindset has got you to where you are now.
Yeah, and now, so we'll bring up the facilities. The facilities are a joke at university. Like, I don't know if we'll be able to get some pictures in, but
We'll try to.
for instance, at Duke, you had a perfect grass pitch as your training pitch, and another half pitch where we do finishing and the keepers would train. You had an unbelievable gym, probably 30 racks that all the sports teams would use, but the football team would have it reserved. So each player could be working out at his own rack. The treatment rooms, there's a bunch of beds, hot tub, cold tub, turf, 3G in the treatment room is
And
probably high championship standard facilities.
That's probably better than champion. When I was
Yeah.
at Charlton, we had nothing like that, and we were championship at the
Yeah.
time.
No,
no,
it's
no offense
it's
to
a joke.
Maidstone, but we haven't got our own gym. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're a professional club. We haven't got our own gym. And obviously,
Yeah.
the gym we use, Freedom,
It's great.
It's great. We absolutely
Perth
love
does
it.
the job.
It does the job. It's only a 5-minute walk, but
Yeah.
it's just such a different,
Yeah.
different experience.
But again, the facilities are great, but you begin to take them for granted. Don't get me
Of
wrong, I
course.
would love to have them, but I much prefer kind of the intensity of professional football without those facilities
course.
to college with the facilities.
Yeah, of
And then
course.
NC State, I said Duke, but NC State had all of the same. I remember actually at Duke, Duke is very elite school, and people would be like, oh, other schools don't have it. NC State just had everything the same as well. So NC State was unbelievable.
And what about travel? Because travel in the Conference South, obviously, sometimes we do travel really far to away games like Torquay, back-to-back weekends, but we don't. We go on the day.
Yeah.
Is that very different to
Yes.
how you do things?
I remember my first away trip. We were going to Yeovil, and we left at 7 a.m. I was staying in Fulham at that point, and I had to stay with Helen because I wouldn't have physically been able to make it from Fulham to the ground to go to Yeovil. We left at 7 for a 3 p.m. kickoff.
We still got the dub.
We drew.
No, we drew 1-1.
What?
This brother's not even
We
switched
beat
on.
them at home, mate. I'm just saying when we went away.
Yeovil. I said
Oh,
Torquay. they said
sorry. I
Yeovil.
thought you meant Torquay.
This is what we have to deal with, by the way.
Sorry,
Been
apologies.
talking for an hour, doesn't know about colleges. Can't even hear that you said Yeovil.
Nearly got the dub. Nearly got the dub.
So if we went anywhere over 2 hours, we would go the night before, like in a coach, and stay there. And if it was anything over like a 5 hour drive, we would fly. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Really?
I remember complaining at NC State when we went to play Syracuse, which is a really hard place to get to in like northern New York, 5 hours north of New York City. We got there at like 11:40 flying the night before the match, and we were all complaining that we didn't have dinner in Syracuse. Oh my God, like how times change. Yeah.
Now we'll go back to my point earlier about the free kick. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so UNC, it's funny, Duke and UNC have a massive rivalry. And so do NC State and UNC. And NC State and Duke are rivals, but not as big, right? So it's called the Triangle. And there's like 3 teams in the Triangle. But yeah, my mom had quite bad luck coming to my matches. Like every time she played, I just wouldn't play much. If I played 70 minutes the week before, I'd play like 15. Her, my dad, and my brother came to watch me. They drove from New Jersey to Syracuse, 6 hours each way. Played 13 minutes. I thought I was going to start, and I played 13 minutes. Like, it's the most mad I've ever been after a game. Like, and we won as well. But I was just, I felt like I'm embarrassed almost.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
So my mom came to watch me play against UNC, and that's probably our biggest game of the season. I think there were 3,000 fans there. And thankfully, it went well, finally. I had a free kick that I scored on, and then I also assisted, like, my best friend from NC State, Pablo, who was my roommate as well. And we drew the match 2-2, which wasn't the best, but the match was on TV as well. And I remember afterwards, my mom's like, "Do you want me to come to your game next week?" I was like, "Stay home." I was like, "That's enough. We're leaving on that note." So that was kind of, I think that was like with 2 or 3 games left in the season. That was a really nice way to end college. And then I was kind of thinking, like, what's next with my pro career?
But selfishly, that free kick messed me up. Because obviously you put it on your highlight reel. Yeah. Away at Horsham, pre-season, we're 30 seconds into the game. I'll go through one-on-one. I get dragged down on the edge of the box.
Yeah.
Blatant red card in a normal
blatant
game.
red card. So I was like, I was fuming because if I was a red or I was going to finish it one-on-one, I'll have a chance to. So I was like, let me take the free kick. I'm stood over the free kick. All I hear is Craig and Gaffer shouting, "Connor, no, Connor!" And I'm like, no, there's impossible. I was actually throwing a little bit of a paddy. I let him have the free kick. I was like, at least to see what free kicks are about. Hits the wall, and I was like,
and then and then the rebound comes out to him and still
just smacks it against the guy on the floor.
I was on the floor.
I've smacked it into his face. He's collapsed. The ball's come out, and I've actually caught it so cleanly and nailed him. And one of their boys was like, "You gonna say sorry to him?" I was like, "Would have gone in if he wasn't there. I'm not sorry. You should say sorry to me."
But I think that's 1-1 for the Winchester penalty. Like I nicked the penalty off him. So
fair.
Even though amongst a preseason game,
you know what's funny? I always want to take the free kicks, and I had a meeting with them because I wasn't officially signed. I had like an offer, but we were still negotiating. And they were like, "Let's see what you're about." Like, they said to me, "Want to see you take set pieces next game." But you won it. So I stood off. I was like,
it was literally like 30 seconds into the game.
yeah.
Really?
I stood off and they were saying, "Connor, you take it." And I was like, I didn't know you well at the time. I was like, "Step aside, mate." And yeah, then I didn't score. So
we had to have a little break, a little pause, so Mr. Bone could blow his nose because it was.
I'm really bummed up, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed. Really bummed up.
You can hear it, like talking like this.
Literally.
And then we decided to check all the cameras because Tops is not here behind the scenes. Our part-time producer, and it is part-time because if you're only here for 2 out of the 3,
66%.
Well, 33% missed.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's banging in the background, stuff going on here. And we went past all the phones. Boney's is fine. Mine's good in the middle. And then Mr. Conor Kelly on
the
himself.
man himself. For his video.
His iPhone 6S has completely died. And at the moment, I don't actually think that it's recovered or saved what we filmed.
Life of a podcaster, but we have to move.
Facts.
The show goes on.
The show does go on.
That's showbiz, baby.
Anyway, we were talking about after NC State and your transition to where you are now, I guess.
Yeah, so how the draft, like how college football works is the best players will get entered into the draft. And, I didn't go in the draft my senior year, which is my last year at Duke because, I didn't have a career to. My roommate from Duke actually ended up getting selected 13th overall. Now he's playing for FC Cincinnati. So it's been, shout out Ian Murphy. But yeah, we're still in contact all the time. It's been so good to see his success. He's actually just been called up to the U.S. In the past month. So
top.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like going from playing at Duke to the national team. But Yeah, I wasn't selected for that process, but it was so cool to see him go through it. And that was my goal. Then going to NC State was I'll get drafted. But how the draft used to be was like every player gets selected, and they would just get signed to the team. Versus now it's you get selected, and if you're not in the top 15 picks, it's unlikely you'll be with the first team right away. You're gonna have to go in the reserves. And 23, I don't want to be playing reserve team football. It's more about the development of young kids, more about the 18-year-olds, and I want to win. So I was like, I don't know if that'll be the best avenue for me. Let me take advantage of my English citizenship. So I was looking to come over here. I had a few things lined up, one like concrete trial lined up, and the coach got sacked like the week before I was supposed to go. And I was like, great. Now what do I do? It's a bit late. I didn't really push for the MLS. And I think because of that, I was told I had the season to get selected. I was the top scoring midfielder in the best conference, and there's 80 selections. I didn't get picked. And I remember sitting in my room. They stopped televising the draft after the first 30 picks. So I'm just refreshing on my computer, and I was like, oh, I'm trying to play it cool, playing video games. I was refreshing the whole time. And it ended about 9:30, 10, and I just sat there for about an hour like, oh, like I really have to go to England now.
Yeah, what now?
Yeah, I remember actually going for a run that night, like with the head thing, because I just needed to like clear my mind. But yeah, then I was like, okay, I'll go to England. That fell through, and now I'm like, Jesus.
Where were you meant to go in England? You allowed to?
It was a League Two club that I was supposed to go and train with.
Actually, I know that actually. I didn't know that, but I do know that.
Yeah, and yeah, so that fell through, and I was gonna go train with the USL team, which is second division, and I did that for a few weeks. It went well, but they kind of had their whole team picked. So I think they had 8 weeks of preseason. They brought in over 60 trialists, and I stayed a second week, me and another kid. But yeah, they just didn't sign me, and I was sat at home, and it's not a fluid transfer window. I would have had to wait till at least August for teams to have injuries and think about signing players. It's not like National South where you have players in every week.
So after the USL, what was the plan of action after that?
Yeah, after the USL was hard because, no opportunities are really going to come about in the States till at least August, and it's probably late February at that point. So I'm caught in two places. All my friends are moved on from uni. They're working real jobs because I did the extra year of school, and I was just thinking, like, what do I do? There's not really a blueprint, and I was like, you know what? I love English football. I was meant to play in England. Like, that's where I want to be. And I just emailed about 20 agencies. I was going through Transfer Market. I was looking around the National League and was like, where are the midfielders? Mm-hmm. Who are their agents? Mm-hmm. And I emailed about maybe 15 or 20, and I only got 1 or 2 responses. And I have to, again, my agent took a massive chance on me, so I have to give him a shout out. James Garley with Achieve. He was unbelievable to me. And yeah, even I'll get to it, but even coming over with trials and stuff was fantastic. And yeah, I was like, you know what? I'll come over, but it was a bit late, coming over this time last year. There's only 6-7 weeks left in the season. Yeah, so I'd go trial, take about 2 weeks, sign for a month, and then move back. So it was like, you know what? I'll just
unrealistic, yeah.
I'll get really fit, and I'll play summer football, which is all these boys would come home from uni and they would play on a summer team just to stay fit. So I'll do that, get like 5 or 6 games, then come over for preseason. So that was the plan. And yeah, I came over in June. But yeah, I was working at my parents' wing restaurant, just staying fit. It was a really weird 6 months of my life, but also like very enjoyable, like grounded me quite well.
And how did you find it as well? Well, we are skipping it, but along that trial period, there's a few unsuccessful trials.
Yeah.
Like, how was that for you? Like, you've taken a huge gamble. Again, going back to taking another gamble. You've come all the way from America. You've left your family, your friends, where you're comfortable. Coming over to England, nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. How was that for you, that process? Like, there must have been nerves, like excitement and stuff. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was really interesting because all my parents' friends have kind of moved on. A lot of them were Americans or foreigners that they met through work who have moved back to their countries. And I didn't know anyone. I have a teammate from Duke who lives in Wimbledon, Max Moser, who I go see all the time. And that was kind of the extent of people I knew in this country. So I stayed with family friends. I have to, again, the Carps. They're like my parents over here. I love them. I'm gonna go see them hopefully soon. It's been hard with the surgery and everything, but yeah, I've only seen them once since 2006. When we came over in 2018 on a holiday, we had Easter dinner with them, and yeah, my mom reached out to them, and they were more than happy to have me in, and yeah, I just showed up at their door and was like, yeah, I'm here just to play football, like kind of indefinitely trialing. And they were so good to me. And that really helped me acclimatize. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I had a first trial with a National League club. Did a week there, thought I did quite well. And the day before the first match, they were just like, I was walking around with no data on airplane mode.
Oh, I remember those times.
Yeah. Took
those times.
A 2-hour tube journey home. I get home, finally switch on. So happy to get on Wi-Fi. My agents text me, they're not going to move forward with you. And I was like, oh, crap. And now I'm thinking the agent's not going to think I'm good.
Yeah.
And it's really not going to work out. Like, I'm going to have to figure out something for myself. That day, he got me a trial with a National League South club. So I was on a 2-hour train at 5 a.m. the next morning to go train with them. And that went really well. I played really well. I played a match. I actually played a match on my birthday, and I remember I was at a hotel, and I'm with a random guy who's actually driving me to training, who was also trialing, and such a nice guy named Joe. And I was just thinking, like, I must really love football. I'm sat my 24th birthday with a guy I've met this week in a hotel down in Portsmouth. Like,
and you didn't tell anyone either. It was your birthday, did you?
Yeah, because I don't.
You didn't want to bring in the cakes.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not bringing cakes as a trialist. But my boys called me. They were on a night out the night before. It was like 4 a.m. They called me at 9 a.m. our time, and he's heard. He's like, "It's your birthday?" I'm like, "Yeah, just keep it between us, though." Oh. But yeah, that was a really nice experience. But yeah, I did my first game. They're like, "We really like you. We're gonna make a decision. We play a League 2 club on Tuesday." And then they had a board meeting Monday, and they were just like, "We don't have the budget." But they were fantastic. They recommended me to other clubs, and I ended up going to Maidstone that Tuesday, and I could tell right when I went to Maidstone, I was like, I'm going to sign here. You know?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was honestly the first conversation with Gaffer. He's like, just work as hard as you can. And I was like, oh, that's easy. Yeah. And he was very fitness-based, and I was doing quite well in the fitness. And I remember the first day because I told my mom I was going to sign for the last club. My mom and dad, I was like, no, this is the place. But I was like, no, this is really, really the place. And
did you genuinely have that sense then when you walked through the doors?
Yeah, no, I could tell right away.
Completely different feeling to when you went to the other clubs?
Yeah, no, I didn't have a bad feeling at other clubs. Like, the changing rooms were good, but this was the best changing room, I would say. Yeah. And Gaffer said something to me, which was nice, too. He's like, he loves Americans. He played with a few, and he's like, they're just honest, hardworking, and that's his style.
His ethos, yeah.
And, yeah, that's a good word. Good word for the vocabulary.
What does that mean?
Hey, that's because I've been reading the books. That's what it is.
I'll come on to that then.
Been reading the books.
So, yeah, he was telling me about, like, he played with Marcus Hanneman at Wolves, who was a goalkeeper. Yeah, he was just saying, like, how honest and hard, and his brother and his sister live in the U.S. So, obviously, it's a bit weird coming over as an American, too, because, I don't think people, like, love Americans. I don't think we give ourselves the best name when we go abroad.
One of the first things you ever said to me when when you actually signed and we became friends were, everyone's jealous of America.
What
is the best country?
Statement that was.
We're so big.
And he was quickly shut down.
And I said, what? I said, we're not jealous of America. He said, what? Everyone over here is jealous of America.
If it was Matt Sheldon saying it, I might have agreed with him.
Matt
Sheldon.
absolutely.
Matt.
I'm jealous of you, Matt. I'm jealous of you.
Yeah. But no, it was really nice. And, I think after they actually told me before my first match, if you do well, like, we'll give you a contract. And I played all right. And then rest is history. So, yeah, it was a hard process, but it flew by. It was like I was here for like 3 weeks before I signed in total of all the clubs.
Brilliant.
And I must say, this season hasn't gone as well as you hoped.
No.
Is it 5 starts, 10 appearances? Is that right?
I think I had 6 starts, 10 appearances. Yeah.
There you go,
Watch this space. Essentially, didn't they? Use this time to analyze stuff, and learn.
We'll learn about it
a
little bit in my episode next week. But the first year I actually played in the Conference South, I had an injury which kept me out for the whole season. Yeah. And the next season, I had a really good year. Yeah. And sometimes when you're unfamiliar with the league, and especially going from college football to this football, which we'll probably touch on in a second, you have to kind of understand it and learn it. And see it with your own eyes and think, wow, I've got to adapt my game.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you said I came in for preseason and I hit the ground running. I think I was playing quite well. And in preseason, it's different. Teams are trying to play. Like, I had a few assists. Like,
you set me up, actually.
yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did.
You're my on the recipient of the free kick. You see, that's why they told me to take free kicks. But also the state of that line. The guy marking you is about 5 yards deeper than the
It's
rest.
a great ball. Don't.
I came on for
Unjustice
you.
yourself.
I came on for you.
Like,
did.
you came off early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't fancy it. That's
Folk
what it was.
so.
Didn't fancy it.
But yeah, it was.
What are you talking about? Fancy it. Chimp. Control my chimp. Control my chimp.
It was interesting how it went because in preseason teams are trying to play, and you get to the season and it's all about winning. And I knew it would change a bit.
The style of play is different.
We played Slough. It was a volleyball match or a tennis match. My head was going like that. I played 90 minutes. I had 17 successful passes. I think that's crazy. Usually at the top levels, like if you're Man City, Rodri passes the ball 90 times a match.
Yeah.
Like I was shocked. And then we went to Bath and, that was a big shock. And we had a loss. I didn't play very well. And I remember I got taken out of the lineup and they called me in and they're like, you're not getting dropped, but this is a really good chance for you to watch and learn. And that was actually probably the best thing that had happened to me to that point because I was coming on, affecting the games late, but I was seeing the style of play. And
100%.
then, I got a first start where I did my ankle against, it was Weymouth, I think.
Weymouth, yeah, it was.
But we got a win. I played well. I felt more comfortable picking up the balls and hooking balls down the channel, which, that wasn't the style of football I played.
Yeah.
And then I scored in the next match, got team of the week, and I was
Me and
like,
you both? Me and you both?
hey, my boy. But that was a great. I've kind of felt like, I'm really good, or not really good. I'm really settled.
Yeah.
Here.
Adjusted and adapted.
Yeah. I moved down here, which is because I was commuting from Fulham, which is by train with the tube and the bus. I'd have to leave 2.5 hours before the time to get to training. So I was getting no sleep. But yeah, that was. I felt settled, and then the ankle kind of just became too much, and here we are.
There we go. You'll be back in no time, bud.
Yeah,
But I must say that I've actually taken a bit of a liking to college football, and we'd always like send each other clips and like say,
He's another one. Just knows.
He knows
everything.
too much.
Knows everything.
I like the
about
fact he knows about American football
it's
in uni
crazy.
when he hasn't played it is nuts.
well, that's actually another story. We were talking about. I nearly went to a college called like Mercyhurst or something. It was only like a few little conversations, few little murmurs, but the amount of videos that I've sent to you saying like, watch this centre half try and play out from the back here, or they take a bad touch, and in the Conference South, if you've never watched it, we will launch the ball as far away from the goal as possible, and there'll be centre halves trying to play two touch in the box, and you're thinking, what's going on here? And they lose the ball, concede, they wouldn't even get taken off or anything. It's just such a different style of football.
Be a good defender first.
It's actually
literally.
funny. My first game, I was supporting She from left back. We're up like 2-1, up a man in the 90th minute. And she gives me a ball that I should just hook in the channel. But I'm like, no, I'm going to play out. I get the ball nicked. They go on a counter. And I think Reese saved me. And I remember being like to Chi, like, yo, Chi, like, I'm trying to play out there. You have to move off the ball here. And Gaffer at full time, like, I thought he was coming over to give me a hug. He's like, what are you doing? There's a kick in the river. And I was like, oh. I was like, my fault. One thing that I think my American viewers have really been saying to me is we've been going on too long. So we're going to have to do some more editing. But I think this will be our shortest ep so far. So I think it's about time we wrap it up, boys. Is there anything anyone wants to say?
The locals are starting.
Yeah, the locals are starting to come in already.
Starting to come in now. So
It's 12 o'clock.
best.
A few
So
drinkers have come
it's
in,
10 a.m. The boys are ready to get started.
They're fuming. They can't play pool and stuff. We've put a ban on the table. The jukebox is not playing.
Literally.
Yeah.
But I've got to say that really enjoyable episode.
Really enjoyed that
Very,
episode,
very
fella.
different. Probably a little bit less intense as yours. A little bit less serious.
Yeah.
But I think I've definitely enjoyed learning about the college experience and how the American system works.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know about you, but
No, like it was nice to sort of get an insight to your career. Because I'm not going to lie to you. You've probably told me this a million times.
Yep.
but he
I
can't
don't
remember
quite-
a thing.
I'll drift out of the conversation, but I had to sort of zone into this one, and it was
and
nice.
you know what?
It was
Now
nice
when we
to-
get Matt Sheldon on, when we go over to America, because we are coming over, when we get Matt on, you now have a bit of more of a knowledge about the American system.
Yeah.
So.
I'll tell
Great.
you what.
No, I really enjoyed it, bud. Really enjoyed it.
We might have to get a connecting flight to Detroit, New Jersey,
Hey.
Detroit.
Hey.
We're
Get
getting
the
all-
link up.
You know,
Get
it's
that link
it's
up.
not LA and New York like most people think when they go to the States, but you'll see the real side of the US.
We'll be there
There we
no
go.
matter what.
Do you want to do the outro for us then, Connor?
What do I say for the
Say
outro?
like, thank you very much.
Oh,
Thank you
yes.
very much.
I'm going to do the Sam Bone special. Yeah, guys. So thank you very much for watching. I hope everyone enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, please drop us a follow on the socials and like and subscribe.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
Thank you guys.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.